His leadership and dedication to America and its cause for freedom is one of the many great reasons why we are able to stand here today on this, the 4th of July. The son of Reverend Benjamin Tallmadge and Susanna Smith, Benjamin Tallmadge was born February 25th, 1754 in Setauket, Long Island. Tallmadge spent his youth in Setauket until he left to attend Yale College. At Yale, Benjamin made close friendships with fellow classmates. One in particular would have a long-lasting impact, and that was none other than Nathan Hale. Hale and Tallmadge spent their college years together, and when they graduated in 1773, they both became school teachers. Hale in East Haddam and Tallmadge in Wethersfield. Not long after they began their teaching tenure, did the Revolutionary War break out. Both Hale and Tallmadge enlisted in the Army, Hale volunteering in an espionage role that would seal his fate, and Tallmadge choosing a more conventional role, enlisting as a lieutenant in Colonel John Chester's regiment in the Wadsworth, Connecticut Brigade. His role in the war, however, would be far from conventional. Upon his enlistment in 1776, Tallmadge was to see action in the battles of Long Island and White Plains in August and October of 1776. Drawing the recognition of his superiors, he accepted the promotion to captain and was given the command of the 1st Troop of Connecticut Continental Light Dragoons in overall command by Colonel Elijah Sheldon. The Dragoons were a mounted cavalry fighting unit that would accompany the infantry in battle. However, Sheldon's 2nd Connecticut Light Dragoons were to be different. They were to become what I call the special ops of their day. They were mobile, fast-moving, and effective. They would find the enemy, hit quickly, move out quickly, very often catching the enemy off guard. In 1777, Tallmadge was again promoted to the rank of Major, and following this promotion, he took part in the Philadelphia campaign, battles of Brandywine, Germantown, White Marsh, and Monmouth. During the winter at Valley Forge, Tallmadge and his forces guarded the lines along Delaware and Schuylkill rivers and reported the British movement and prevented supplies from the countryside to be taken by British raiders. In 1778, the center of operations returned back north to New York, the lower Hudson Valley, and coastal Connecticut. This was to become Tallmadge's base for the remainder of the war. Washington's strategy at this time was to encircle the British within the city of New York and keep them confined and bottled up the best they could by limiting travel into and out of the city. They also wanted to prevent further British attacks on the surrounding areas. It was Tallmadge's primary role with his special ops unit to keep the British confined and put as much pressure on them as possible. This meant constant patrolling in the no man's land, the front lines primarily in Westchester County, and engaging the enemy raiding units, primarily Tory bandits, and British light horse units. In July of 1779, while encamped at Pound Ridge, Tallmadge and his troops were attacked by the notorious Banastre Tarleton. Tallmadge and his troops engaged in fierce fighting, but had to retreat, with Benjamin losing his saddlebags containing important intelligence information, as well as all the pay for his men. Also left behind was the regimental flag, which Tarleton kept as a souvenir of his victory. This minor setback for Tallmadge was offset by his successful raid in September of 1779 on Fort Franklin at Lloyd's Neck on Long Island. His continuous ambushes, raids, and guerrilla fighting in the no man's land and engaging with James Delancey's loyalty score. All throughout this period, the fighting was remorseless and brutal. It was also time that in September of 1780, the militiamen captured John Anderson, a.k.a. Major John Andre, revealing the treasonous plot of Benedict Arnold. In addition to being in charge of Washington's special ops, Tallmadge also oversaw the espionage unit known as the Culper Spy Ring. The spy ring was assisted by the whaleboat warrior Caleb Brewster, who shuttled information gathered by the spy network on Long Island across the Sound to Tallmadge and then to Washington. The network was very effective in monitoring and anticipating the British movement on Long Island and on the Hudson for the duration of the war. Tallmadge also took on the role of an improvised naval officer as he planned and executed amphibious raids on Long Island. After the first successful raid on Fort Franklin came a second raid on Fort St. George a loyalist garrison on the south side of Long Island. In November 1780, Tallmadge and 100 men departed from Fairfield and crossed the Sound, attacked the Tory fort, destroying it, and then moving to Coram, where they destroyed 300 tons of hay earmarked for the British in New York City. They took prisoners and destroyed supplies in an extremely successful raid. Tallmadge and his men returned to Long Island again in 1781 to further his plans to annoy the enemy on the Sound and on Long Island. In this raid, Tallmadge's troops departed the Saugatuck River, attacked Fort Slongo near Huntington, Long Island. At dawn, they attacked the fort, quickly overrunning it, setting it on fire. Again, they took prisoners and carried off supplies, muskets, and cannon. Once again, Tallmadge inflicted serious damage to the British supply network. He and his men continued to do so with his navy, taking several ships in an attempt to halt the London trade or the movement of smuggled goods to the British. He often paid his men with the proceeds from the sale of the captured goods, which has been greatly appreciated. Tallmadge played one final role in the end of the war, and that was to arrange the exchange and protection of prisoners held in New York City. Upon cessation of hostilities, he was the first American military officer to enter New York City after the 7 years of occupation. Under a flag of truce and surrounded by hostile Tory mobs, the British soldiers, Tallmadge successfully achieved his mission of protection for the American prisoners. Tallmadge was breveted as a lieutenant colonel in 1783 and retired from the Army with that rank. He was present when George Washington bid farewell to his troops in New York City that same year. In 1783, it also saw Tallmadge moving here to Litchfield. The following year, he married Mary Floyd on March 16, 1784, she being the daughter of William Floyd, a signer of the Declaration of Independence from New York. She is a true daughter of the American Revolution. Benjamin and she resided here in Litchfield on North Street for the remainder of their lives. Together they had 7 children, one of whom was named George Washington Tallmadge. Mary Floyd Tallmadge died on June 3rd, 1805, at the age of 42, and is buried here beside her husband. From 1784 and for the next 50 years, Benjamin Tallmadge's life was centered here in Litchfield. In 1792, he was appointed postmaster. He became the first president of the Phoenix Branch Bank. And in 1801, and for the next 16 years, he was a United States Congressman from Connecticut. He served the 2nd through 14th Congresses, and when he retired from politics in 1817, for his remaining years, he engaged in mercantile pursuits. He owned and operated a store here in Litchfield. He participated in land speculation throughout the Northeast. He was an importer, and he continued in the banking industry. He devoted himself to establishing a training school for Native American and Asian missionaries. Benjamin Tallmadge died here in Litchfield at the age of 81 on March 7, 1835. He was truly one of the great patriots of the American Revolution, a man of great leadership, ability, conviction, courage, integrity, and dedication. The sons and daughters of the American Revolution salute you, Benjamin Tallmadge, and you, Mary Floyd Tallmadge. Thank you for your sacrifice and your important role in establishing the United States of America and for the freedoms we as Americans enjoy today.
Ready, fire! Get ready. Take aim. Fire! Order fire locks.